Recently, I decided to challenge myself to accomplish two things that I had never done before: get every achievement in Terraria, and beat Moonlord on Master Mode. My adventure started by first deleting my achievements-steam.dat file, which essentially reset my progress locally, so we're starting completely fresh. On the PC version, there are 115 achievements to collect, and I want to get all of them on a single character on a single world, which means we gotta pick out a secret world seed. There are 7 secret seeds, with the 8th seed being a combination of the other 7. For the worthy drastically increases the game's difficulty, which makes Master Mode Legendary Mode. I don't feel very worthy, so that's not happening. Not the Bees, Celebration MK10, No Traps, Don't Dig Up, and The Constant each offer a interesting experience, but one that I feel is too far from the vanilla Terraria that I'm going for. As such, I used the seed 5/16/2020, which was made for Terraria's 9th birthday. There are other changes, but it still has everything we need for this challenge. I used that seed to make a Master Mode medium-sized world called Achievement Land, which I loaded into with a classic Terrarian I named DPadGamer. After loading into the game, I got a rare realm, quickly followed by timber and bench as I made a wooden starter hut. Next, I walked to the east, stabbed a slime for some gel to make some torches, and carefully began following this cave into the depths. Mining some lead earned shiny, after which I began randomly digging directly down. Very quickly, I found an opening that was connected to a very long minecart track, which I followed back west for my first life crystal and the Heartbreaker achievement. When heading back east, I happened to feel a slight jolt, and I got vehicular manslaughter, but I didn't see it, so I'm not at fault, probably. The track led to a golden chest unlocking I Am Loot, which contained a godly mace, which was an absolute godsend. While this did replace my damaged copper short sword, I made sure to keep my first weapon safe in my bags for later. Farther east, the track went over a water chest with, among other items, some water boots and my first pet. There's no achievements related to pets, but they're nice to have. By the time I reached the other end of the track, night had fallen, so I used a warp potion, furnished these 2 rooms, and began building out another floor, at which point I earned No Hobo. On the second floor, I placed a furnace and anvil, which unlocked heavy metal. All in all, I earned 9 achievements on my first day, got a decent weapon, and the materials to start gearing up. Considering how dangerous early game cave exploration can be, day 1 went very smoothly. Not long after, I got You Can Do It for surviving my first day. At this point, I had earned just over 1 gold and had some bombs, so some NPCs could move in. While waiting for those, I went east to pillage a set of living tree rooms. One of the treasures was actually a 3 defense leg armor called Moonlord Legs, which looked kinda gross, but allow you to fall farther without dying, jump higher and farther, and move faster. Apparently these are actually unique to Drunk Worlds, so that's neat. Surprisingly, it was the merchants and nurse to spawn in first, so I started building skywards. While they're efficient, I've never liked the jail cell approach to housing, so I instead recreated the Wayside School, making room for 6 more NPCs. During my second night, I ate 5 stars for star power, and delved back down into the depths. I found some chests, one containing a magic mirror, the other in a glowing mushroom biome, containing a suspicious eye for like a boss. Unfortunately, my trip to the glowing mushroom biome left some fungus among us in my lungs, so I was cursed to look like Toad. With my growing wealth, I bought a mining helmet, some potions, a bug net, a bunch of torches, a piggy bank, and I had all my accessory slots filled with moderately useful items. The next day, I started laying out the groundwork for the worst inventory management system you'll ever see. I got the Demolitionist, and used my newfound ordnance to start a elevator. I also made sure to miscount my throws and blow myself up for the authentic Terraria experience. Even still, hopes were high. I was starting to lay claim to the world around me with torches and platforms, so the game recognized my confidence, and a blood moon rose. I know it's possible to stay indoors during a blood moon, lock the entrances, and just wait it out, but nah. I died and respawned enough to really earn the Bloodbath achievement, which despite saying survive a blood moon, you don't actually need to stay alive throughout. I then explored to the west, finding a desert biome, a tundra, some living trees, a crimson biome, the jungle, and finally the western ocean, in roughly that order. Below one of the aforementioned living trees was a visible enchanted sword shrine, which thankfully yielded an enchanted sword, great for some ranged attacks, and useful for later. As I left that tree, I accidentally tricked a gnome into petrifying itself in the setting sun, earning heliophobia, and then I graciously fed my corpse to a shark because I love nature. Since I got another blood moon, I barred the doors and continued to build out my base. I also crafted a silver chest plate for matching attire, and as night ended, I tried reloading the world to see if these zombies would disappear, which worked, but also fashion statement was unlocked despite cosplaying as Toad for the last hour. Once the sun rose, slime started falling from the sky, so I pulverized countless blobs of gel, but King Slime proved too much for me, which is unfortunate. Still, the event was productive as I killed a pinky slime for the achievement of the same name, and spent time flattening a section east of home to eventually serve as a boss arena. For the next half hour, I explored down and then to the east, where I found the corruption, as well as the dungeon under this living tree painted brown. Right nearby, I laid the framework for an ocean biome hut, which would be the home of the angler, party girl, and zoologist, a workable combination for the ocean pylon. After, I checked out the dungeon, which contained a single locked golden chest above the dungeon guardian cutoff line. I exploded a dungeon slime for a key, but collecting it revealed the aforementioned guardian. It was worth it. Before returning to collect my treasure, I used a teleportation potion which plopped me directly into a beehive for Where's My Honey, and a bit later the Eye of Cthulhu spawned, and I did not emerge victorious. Still, I unlocked the forest pylon for my home base, returned to the dungeon, opened the chest, and I got a shadow key, Muramasa, and the dungeon heist achievement. After, I used some explosives to clear an easy path to this row of demon altars, under which were many shadow orbs. I exploded one of them for smashing Poppet, as well as a musket so that the arms dealer will move in. Onwards, I completed the elevator. Reaching the underworld rewards, it's getting hot in here, but since this is a drunk world, the middle 2/3 of the underworld is an empty lava ocean, but still, being able to quickly get down here will be helpful nonetheless. Cthulhu arrived for a rematch and I got real close, but died to its enraged state. I shored up the arena, added more layers, and made sure I got some crucial buffs. I also realized that I had the stuff to make a grappling hook, so I equipped it, earning Hold On Tight. In my third fight against the Eye of Cthulhu, I took plenty of avoidable hits, but still emerged victorious, earning Eye on You. The most important bit of loot was the Shield of Cthulhu, which is great for mobility, survivability, also providing a little bit of damage. Soon after, a goblin army arrived, and I laboriously fought them off. Thankfully, no matter how many graves you create, reaching 100% on the meter defeats the army, earning Goblin Punter. This causes the Goblin Tinkerer to spawn somewhere in the depths, which I found pretty quickly. His Tinkerer workshop will be handy for combining accessories down the road, and he sells the rocket boots, which were my first flight adjacent option. Also, he was near a glowing mushroom biome where I found a fairy, which unlocked Hey Listen. At this point, I had full hearts and a gravitation potion, so I felt ready to fall directly into the sky. Going beyond the top of the world unlocks into orbit, after which I found my first sky island, this one containing a Star Fury. Sometime later, the slime rain returned, and I vanquished their king for the Slippery Shinobi achievement, while also staying alive throughout, which unlocked Sticky Situation. My next goal was to get some underworld gear, so I pyloned to the Eastern Ocean and demolished a tunnel down along the edge of the world. I did my best to collect shadow chests while avoiding death by fire, or lava bat, or lava, or fire blocks. It's a dangerous place. The occasional potion of return was invaluable for letting me offload treasure without losing my progress. I did eventually die, but came away with a new Dark Lance, a set of meteor armor without the space gun, and a growing sense of pride and accomplishment. It also helped that I had some gold to throw away, so I reforged my accessories. The goal is basically always to get warding for +4 defense. My next target was the Eater of Worlds, which I slayed by spamming spiky balls across this walkway and stabbing with my lance, earning worm fodder. The most important reward, though, was actually the Worm Scarf, which reduces damage by 17%. I returned to Hell and nearby built a small building to serve as a pylon station for the underworld, and while I was down there, Paris and the others decided to throw a party unlocking Jolly Jamboree. I'm pretty sure they were still beating up pinatas while I returned to the Eastern Hell City, where I mined out some Hellstone while staying safe with an Obsidian Potion. I returned with the Hellforge and just over 100 Hellstone, which let me craft a Molten Pickaxe for Miner for Fire, as well as the Helm of the Molten Set, which will be my final armor set of pre-hard mode. The next big milestone came when I took a trip over to the Crimson, built out a very basic arena, and fought the Brand of Cthulhu. Like with the Eater of Worlds, spiky balls and lance made it fairly easy, unlocking Mastermind. Next, I revisited the dungeon to start carving out an arena for Skeletron, which proved to be a bit too strong for me right now. As such, I shifted gears and started searching for a bass statue in the desert, where I died by touching one of the world's most annoying traps, a rolling cactus. At the very least, this unlocked Watch Your Step. Thanks, game. I took the game's hint, went to Hell, and came back with enough Hellstone to complete my Molten Set and make an Imp Staff, which is a pretty solid summoning item. After some time, I set up a house right here, which would serve as a starting point for exploring the underground jungle. I assigned the Dryad and Painter to live here, and was surprised that the Painter liked it so much I unlocked Leading Landlord. During my subsequent jungle visits, I tried fighting the Queen Bee, but accidentally summoned 2 of them, and then accidentally was bad at the game. Still, I found an Anklet of the Wind which I combined with an Aglet, and the recently crafted Spectre Boots to make Lightning Boots. I also made the Blade of Grass, which I combined with my other swords at a demon altar to create Knight's Edge. Then I went ahead and visited the Tundra in search of some skates, which thankfully only took me a few minutes. Same with an Obsidian Rose from a Fire Imp, which all went towards the Terraspark Boots, and the achievement Boots of the Hero. Thanks to the combined effects of all of its ingredients, the Terraspark Boots allow me to fly, run fast, move easily on ice, ignore fiery blocks, be immune to lava for up to 7 seconds, and walk on all types of liquid including Shimmer. It's a good item. With my improved mobility, I returned to the Great Hive, picked out a larva, and absolutely struggled to victory. Then, after failing Skeletron again, I decided to go for a couple easy achievements. I spent over a total of 1 gold for the Nurse's Healing for Frequent Flyer, and after figuring out the height at which I wouldn't fall to my death, Lucky Break for surviving a fall with not much health left. A bit later, I guess I had finally run a total of 26.2 miles on foot, earning Marathon Medalist. For multiple reasons, I needed more loot from the Queen Bees, so I returned and emerged with another treasure bag, this one dropping the Honeyed Goggles, which was actually my first mount of the playthrough. Equipping it unlocked the Cavalry. That's cool, but I don't really enjoy flying mount with limited uptime, so you won't be seeing it too much. Back home, I equipped the bee armor, shot a bee gun, and earned Not the Bees. I then realized that feeling petty was another easy one to check off, earned for petting one of the many town slimes. Since I was on a roll with getting some easy achievements out of the way, I went down to the caverns, placed a bunch of torches, and survived Terraria's dumbest event ever, aka the Torch God. With all this achieving, I felt ready to convert Skeletron into bone meal, so I failed, improved the arena, found a bass statue for the extra defense, reforged some accessories, and emerged victorious for the Boned achievement. I immediately celebrated by exploring the dungeon, which holds many useful things. Water candles increase enemy spawn rates, which is great for farming, we'll need to do later. Alchemy tables help reduce ingredient usage for potions. Bewitching table applies a buff that allows for an extra summon, and the Cobalt Shield is a crucial accessory for staying alive, which we will improve in the future. With all of this, I felt capable of leaving pre-hard mode, though should I? Probably not. Hard mode brings with it new, stronger enemies, evil biome spreads faster, and will be underpowered for quite some time, so I did no preparation at all, and instead went directly to the underworld to take on the Wall of Flesh. If anything, I hope that through my various challenge videos, I've proven just how much I enjoy procrastination and making things a problem for future me. Anyways, I got a number of items from Wall of Flesh, including the Pwn Hammer, unlocking Stop Hammer Time, and I also got the Demon Heart, a guaranteed drop in Expert and Master mode, which adds a additional accessory slot. My first task in hard mode was to destroy a bunch of altars, earning Begone Evil, and blessing the world with various hard mode ore. Nearby was a vein of palladium that I mined, which unlocked Extra Shiny. Heading down in search of more ore, I realized that the house I had built had become too corrupted. Before addressing this issue, Tim the Wizard showed up to die, earning me Some Call Him Tim, and I found a trapped chest, intentionally opened it, and lived. And then not long after, I was carving my way towards the Bound Wizard when I got the Bulldozer achievement, and just happened to see the wizard die. And then found another trapped chest, disarmed this one, to be careful, opened it, and died for Dead Men Tell No Tales. After that and some more mining, I put together a titanium forge, and set to work clearing away the corruption from this mushroomy house when a nymph showed up, died, and I got Deceiver of Fools. After some more mining and dying, I eventually made this spot hospitable by just spamming sunflowers, as each flower decreases the surrounding area's corruption rating by 5 tiles. With this, the caverns were more accessible again, and mining for hard mode ore went much quicker, but I was getting frustrated because I had a double jump and some flight, but no fall damage immunity. So I put together a real short platform up in the sky and struggled to fight some wyverns. Each one in Master Mode drops 10 to 20 souls of flight, and you only need 20 souls and some harpy feathers to make some wings, so it didn't take too long, but it was kinda tough. Equipping them earned me head in the clouds, and now I was always safe from fall damage. After that, I was able to finally put together a full set of adamantite armor, and I cleared away more space for the arena in preparation for the destroyer. Unfortunately, destroying said destroyer wouldn't happen for a bit, so I did some more farming, mining, that kind of stuff. I picked up and used a yo-yo for the first time, earning throwing lines. I entered a spider cave for Jeepers Creepers, and I found the shimmer nestled within the jungle biome, which was flooded with water, and clearing it away while staying alive proved very difficult. Eventually, I earned a shimmer in the dark. At this point, I accepted that melee wasn't going to work for the mechanical bosses, so I spent a while in the underworld trying to farm mimics in search of the daedalus bow. And then, at some point, I celebrated my lack of progress by laying out a bunch of tombstones for Quiet Neighborhood. I'm rolling through this hopefully pretty quick, but this was the most agonizing stretch of the playthrough. But I did eventually kill a crap mimic using an icicle I had farmed, and since all evil biome mimics share the same stats, it told me that the hollowed mimic and the stormbow was within reach. Now I actually felt like I was ready to be productive, so I bought a mechanics rod, fished up whatever the angler wanted, and completed my first quest for servant in training. For the most part, I started fishing at this point because potions. The endurance potion reduces damage by 10%, requiring an armored cavefish from the caverns. The rage potion increases crit chance by 10%, using a hemopiranha from the crimson biome, and wrath potion increases damage by 10% using eben koi from the corruption. There are other useful potions that require fish, but those three were my main focus. Along with this, I extended out the Skybridge platform, set up an arena in hell to farm hollow enemies, and, at long last, defeated a hollow mimic and obtained the Daedalus Stormbow. As you may know, this weapon is great against mechanical bosses, especially when combined with holy arrows, which are made from arrows, pixie dust, and unicorn horns. As such, I cleared away a flat stretch of land that I spread the hollow through, near the Western Ocean, farmed some materials, and killed a rainbow slime, finishing out Gelatin World Tour. On July 4th, while people were out celebrating with fireworks, I was inside fighting the Destroyer. I had honey placed on either side of the Skybridge's opening, I had all the buffs I could stomach, and over 1,000 arrows ready to rain down upon the metal abomination. The fight took me like 5 minutes because my damage wasn't that great, but with all my preparation, I remained quite healthy. We were now easily over 17 hours into the run, but hey, the Destroyer is dead. This alone doesn't unlock any achievements, but defeating a single mechanical boss allows for life fruit to start growing in the jungle, the steampunker to arrive, and some other stuff. I farmed the Destroyer a few times, eventually making a set of hollowed armor, as well as Excalibur. As time passed, I was able to collect a life fruit, dropped it into the shimmer, and consumed the resulting Aegis fruit for a permanent +4 defense. I also tossed in a life crystal, mana crystal, and fruit, which permanently improves health regen, ramp speed, mana regen, and mining and tile placement speed. All good stuff. From there, I finally set up a herb farm near home base. I got a moon charm from a blood moon event. I obtained a nimbus rod from one of those angry clouds, and even fished up an enchanted sundial before completing my 10th angler quest for Good Little Slave. Shut up! At some point, I realized how many different accessories I had found equated to almost a full set, so I farmed out a pocket mirror, and then crafted my Ankh shield unlocking Ankh-cumulation complete. I also ate a life fruit for Get a Life. Now, even though I still had a ways to go from max health, I rechallenged Skeleton Prime. I had my Excalibur for melee, Stormbow for range, and I could fly pretty well thanks to my fairy wings. My time spent in the hollow also let me run from Skeletron using my trusty unicorn mount. Unfortunately, I'm not very good at avoiding damage, and things got very dicey. At some point, I had like a single heart left. All of Skeletron Prime's arms were gone, and he was very mad. So I made a split-second decision to venture up into my base and purchase one lump sum of health from the nurse, which happened to carry me to victory. From the treasure bag, I got Lazar's barrier platform, a solid replacement for my wings, and then some hours later, and a whole lot of searching, I ate my last life fruit for max health, unlocking Topped Off. Even later, I summoned forth the twins. With all my buffs, I had a flat 100 defense, so I remained healthy all the way to the very end, where the cursed flames almost burnt me to a crisp. With that victory, the final mechanical boss was down and I earned a bucket of bolts. It was at this point I really felt comfortable and I knew I could eventually reach the end. Still, we have a lot to go through. With the final pieces needed, I crafted the True Knight's Edge, as well as the Pickaxe Axe, which unlocked Drax attacks. Heading into the jungle yet again, I quickly found and mined chlorophyte for photosynthesis, but I probably should have set up rows and rows of mud to passively grow more, but I didn't. It wasn't too long until I have enough green metal to craft True Excalibur, which served as my primary weapon for the next while. With even more bars, I was able to throw together a set of turtle armor, which is fantastic for defense. Now, without potions, I was sitting at 99 defense, even without pulling all warding affixes from the Goblin Gotcha machine. An hour after having beat the twins, 20 minutes of that being spent staring at pixels, I identified Plantera's bulb quite close to the top of the jungle temple, so this is where I decided to build an arena before thinking to myself, you know what, I think I want to cheese Plantera. Looking back, I probably wasted more time than I saved because I spent a few hours searching for and killing Crimson Mimics in search of the fetid Bagnecks. I might be saying that wrong. The fastest melee weapon in the game, or they were before 1.4.0.1 where they were nerfed, but even with the nerf, they're more than capable of burning through Plantera. And with all my defense and a pool of honey, I barely got hurt. With the Great Southern Plant Kill achieved, I celebrated by flying a quad racer up into space for infinity and beyond, and at some point this cyborg moved in. With my list of tenets almost complete, I decided to finally build a surface glowing mushroom biome. I had seeds, but I'm pretty sure I threw them away, so enjoy this brief time lapse as I let the fungus spread. As soon as the background changed, I got Funky Town, and then moved away so that Truffle could move in, earning It Can Talk. Truffle sells the auto hammer once Plantera has died, which lets me combine chlorophyte bars and glowing mushrooms to form shroomite bars, which are needed for some advanced stuff. Next, I went to the ocean and farmed enemies until I got a pirate map, which can be used to summon a pirate invasion. It took a few respawns, but I emerged victorious, earning Walk the Plank. Then, while waiting for the pirate and eventual princess to move in, I explored the jungle temple, which, the temple is an absolute pain. Even after disabling traps and baby-proofing all of these sharp edges, it's extremely difficult to reach the end without dying to the many lizards. Oh, and if that wasn't bad enough, the princess took her sweet time showing up, during which I completed my 25th angler quest for Trout Monkey. Once the princess deigned to appear, I got Real Estate Agent for finally getting every NPC in the game. Next, I summoned a solar eclipse. The goal was to destroy Mothron, but I wasn't ready for that, settling for a Kill the Sun participation award. I then realized I hadn't tackled Deerclop, so I got that done pretty quick for an eye for an eye. And then I returned to the dungeon for a few reasons. Big Booty was achieved for unlocking a biome chest, and Robbing the Grave for looting an item from a post-Plantera dungeon enemy. As you may have noticed, during this playthrough, whenever stuff got difficult, I tried pivoting to something else for at least a while, so I was always making some kind of progress. So in between jungle temple cleaning attempts, I crafted the Shroomite digging claws, relocated the jungle pylon to the temple's entrance, and finally bought a mini shark for completely awesome. And then spent time in the dungeon looking for a rocket launcher, which I was planning on using against Gollum. It took me way longer than it should have to actually find it because I didn't realize that skeleton commandos specifically spawn in front of dungeon brick walls, not slab or tiled walls. I also got a sextant for completing one of the angler's quests, which was the last piece I needed for the fish finder, which I combined with the other pieces I had crewed across my playthrough to craft a cell phone for Black Mirror. It's a great tool to have, and it clears up space in my inventory, and you can take it one step further to craft the shell phone, but I never bothered getting a demon conch because I was happy enough with just the magic conch. I also realized I had nearly all of these slime pets, especially after finding the clumsy slime flying near Sky Island, and the squire slime by dropping a newly crafted copper short sword onto a regular slime. Also I realized that a windy day isn't an actual weather shown on the radio, but instead just any day where the wind goes over 20 miles per hour. I was watching for a windy day for hours. Having run out of distractions, I returned my focus to the jungle temple, and man, it is a pain. Even with all of my efforts to make it hospitable, I could not get to the final room with any level of reliability, so I started looking around through the Terraria wiki for some cheese options. In previous versions, as you may know, it was possible to disable traps using the grand design, and even apply and activate actuators on jungle temple brick walls, to open up holes in the wall, but that's not possible anymore. Thankfully, there is some cheese possible, we just need a pool of shimmer. Prior to defeating Moonlord, the only way to move shimmer is with pumps, so I used the zoologist digging mole cart to clear away a very long straight path between the temple and shimmer. I set up the pumps and ran like 1,000 or so wires connecting them, and boom! A one-way ticket into the altar room.
That's right, I went deep underground. I activate my quirk in my entire body. Then, something super strange happens. I can pass through anything I want, no sweat. That includes solid ground. Here we are.
Success!
I still need to fight the golem basically as normal, but now I can get prepped and get into the room without wasting any time fighting all the way there. I used my True Excalibur for melee and my rocket launcher with mini nuke 1s for some powerful range damage. The only limiting factor here was my own movement, which wasn't amazing, but after a couple of attempts, the golem was defeated, unlocking Lizardian Idol, marking the start of the end of this playthrough in a good way. Golem's treasure bag provided 21 beetle husks, which let me upgrade my turtle armor into beetle armor, which is the second to last armor set I'll be using in this playthrough. I initially used the beetle scale mail, which sacrifices some defense for better offense, but the beetle shell's overwhelming protection is far better than that small damage boost. Either way, I was pretty protected. For now, though, I had a lot of achievements to get out of the way, so I finally battled the Queen Slime, and with my later game equipment, it was quite easy unlocking just desserts. She drops sparkle slime balloons, which can be dropped into shimmer to spawn the Diva Slime. The angler finally gave me his hotline fishing hook, which I used to fish in lava, earning hot reels. I then built a graveyard and summoned a blood moon. You don't need both, but better be safe. Until eventually, the groom appeared for Till Death, and Die Hard was easy. I just equipped a bunch of Shadow Die. I spent a little bit of time drowning and drank a bottle of water for unusual survival strategies, then spent even more time in the jungle until I found a Mystic Frog, which I purified to spawn the Mystic Slime, finishing out the Great Slime Mitosis for getting all of the slime pets. Most importantly, ever since defeating Plantera, I had been attempting and trying to fight the Solar Eclipse event, but it is here where I finally defeated Mothron and got the Broken Hero Sword to drop, which let me combine my True Knight's Edge and True Excalibur to form the Terra Blade, earning Sword of the Hero. It was so satisfying. It might not be the strongest sword in the game, but it is more than enough to help me demolish Dread Nautilus for Don't Dread on Me, fight off the elusive Dr. Bones for Archaeologist, and try the Pumpkin Moon. I didn't triumph, but I came pretty close. I then spent some time getting the last of the ingredients for a Celestial Shell, an accessory that provides some attack speed, flat damage, crit chance, defense, knockback, and even more, which gets that much stronger at night. Feeling like I had some good offense, defense, and most achievements out of the way, I had nowhere else to go but up, so I set my sights on the Lunatic Cultist, which is fought in the same arena used for Skeletron. This proved to be a challenging fight because I had no idea what I was doing. During the fight, the cultists will summon decoys, and you're not supposed to hit them aside from the first moments after they're spawned. With my Terrorblade, I was hitting basically everything, so there were always Phantasm Dragons being spawned, which dealt a lot of damage. Still, even with my lack of precision, I emerged victorious, earning Obsessive Devotion, kicking off the lunar event. Unlike basically every other event in the game, the Celestial Pillars will stick around during the lunar event until defeated, no matter how long it takes, how many times you die, and how many times you quit and reload the game. So, while this could be an annoyance, it meant I was free to try until I either understood what to do for each pillar, or just won through sheer persistence. My first target was the Stardust Pillar, located quite close to home. The Flow Invaders there are tough, and the Milky Way Weavers took a bit of practice to nail down their movements and avoid, but I eventually destroyed 100 enemies and took out the pillar after like 10 minutes? Could be better, but I'm happy. With the resulting fragments, I crafted a Stardust Dragon Staff, a fantastic summon that also just looked pretty cool. Following some advice I read on the Terraria wiki, I went to the Vortex Pillar, and sure enough, it becomes super easy if you just dig a hole into the ground and attack enemies as they try to reach you. The Nebula Pillar was relatively easy, only taking a couple of lives and minutes. And last but definitely not least, the Solar Pillar was a real pain in the neck, and legs and face and everything else. I knew to remain grounded, otherwise the Crawlipede would destroy me, but the Dracanians quickly overpowered me on the ground. The solution was another hole in the ground. The Meterhead-esque Corites still hurt, but I was able to remain healthy enough to cut down enough of the enemies to destroy the final pillar, earning me Star Destroyer. this automatically summons the Moon Lord himself, and I'm not even going to sugarcoat it, I died very quickly, but that's okay, I wasn't planning on winning in this first attempt. With all those various fragments, I crafted 2 celestial sigils for easy Moon Lord summoning. That said, I still needed some more stuff before I was ready for the final fight, so I shifted gears and completed a few more easy achievements. First, I crafted a rainbow rod for Prismancer, and then equipped and used my rainbow gun while riding a unicorn for rainbows and unicorns. That done, I spent time farming paladins in the dungeon in search of a paladin shield. You see, as good as the Ankh shield is, at this point it's mostly dead weight, because the Moon Lord doesn't apply any buffs that it covers. That's why as soon as I got my paladin shield, I upgraded it into a frozen shield, though it's not like a permanent thing, I swap back and forth as needed. As you might have guessed at this point, dodging isn't my strong suit, so I'm not even going to try. Instead, I went the route of full-on face tanking the Moon Lord. At first, like I mentioned before, I wasn't using the beetle shell chest piece, and I didn't have the best arena setup, but with each attempt, I did better, and then worse. Finally, I earned Champion of Terraria, and while this challenge still wasn't done, this was where I felt true victory. I know it might not seem like much to some, but prior to this playthrough, I had never managed to get further than the mechanical bosses on Master Mode, and I had never fought Moon Lord on any difficulty, not counting a modded playthrough, so this felt pretty good. I refought the Moon Lord a few times, and thanks to the 1.4.4 change that made him always drop 2 non-identical weapons, I eventually pulled both the Star Wrath and the Meow Mirror. Then, after redoing the Lunar Event for some more fragments, I crafted Solar Armor, which has incredible defense and pretty good offense. I also got the Terrarian to drop, earning Sick Throw, and then finally felt ready to stomp Duke Fishron. Surprisingly, he still really hurts, especially if you don't avoid his Sharknadoes, and his final enraged state is just ridiculous. But eventually, I got it done for Fish Out of Water, and Slayer of Worlds, as he was the last boss needed for that achievement. Using my tank and shank setup, the Pumpkin Moon event was fairly easy, earning the Baleful Harvest and Horseman's Blade. I then summoned all of the mechanical bosses at once, simultaneously destroying them for Mecha Mayhem, and then tackled the Frost Moon event for Ice Scream. During this, I got the Toy Tank, a fun Master Mode exclusive mount that has automatic machine gun and homing rocket launcher. It's just so metal. Also, apparently the Frost Legion is an entirely separate and surprisingly lackluster event, unlocking Do You Want to Slay a Snowman? All that done, the last event is Martian Madness, which is initiated by being spotted by a Martian probe in the outer thirds of the map up in this space layer. Once that's done, we must fend off the aliens. At this point, I was strong enough to shrug off almost every enemy, but the Martian Saucer is still very dangerous. Thankfully, I had a Witch's Broom from the prior Pumpkin Moon event, which let me keep pace with the saucer up until its second phase where it continually tries to move above the player and then shoot its death ray. This is very deadly, and it took a few attempts, but I eventually got used to moving back and forth, changing directions just in time to almost always avoid the ray. After a few successful events, first earning Tinfoil Hatter, I got the Influx Waver, went over to the jungle, slapped Planetara a few times for the Seedler, and at long last, I made the Zenith for Infinity +1 sword. This is truly the culmination of all of my effort so far, as I used my very first damaged copper short sword in the crafting of Zenith, and since at this point I had over 30 platinum, the Goblin allowed me to reforge it into a legendary Zenith. The resulting rush of power and overinflating of my ego was it's indescribable, because the Zenith let me absolutely destroy the Empress of Light for Fae Flayer and the Old One's army for Hero of Etheria. With this final weapon, nothing stands in my way, so it's just a matter of finishing out a few final achievements. I immediately gathered what ingredients weren't laying in my randomly placed chests and crafted the Drill Containment Unit, and dipped my Contaminator into the Shimmer, turning it into the Terraformer because it's time to eradicate all evil. Like with a lot of this playthrough, this cleansing took far too long because I refused to do it the efficient but boring way. So let's discuss some numbers. This is a medium-sized world, which means that it's exactly 6,400 blocks wide, with about 90-ish of those being outside the playable area at either edge of the map. The terraformer can reach 90 tiles with a width of 7 tiles. If I were to have done the smart thing and dug thin shafts across the world, I could have split the world into 36 sections. I'm not sure how long each section take, but altogether it would probably have been about an hour or two depending on how efficient I am. But this was so boring, I decided, you know what, all I gotta do is clear out the main sections of Crimson, Corruption, and Hollow, and then just clean up whatever remains. This was the thought process of an insane person, but that's what I did. I had to re-clean sections because I missed blocks. I initially forgot about the left edge, out of map area, and even worse, the Dryad wouldn't update the status until I exited and re-entered the game. I made so many of the newish biome site potions, but it didn't save me from my own incompetence.
Leave me alone!
I actually wish I was joking, but the final block of corruption, a single block stopping me from moving on, was right here, surrounded by uncorruptible mud. I kind of managed to recreate that incredible animation by Kelpalox entirely on accident, so whoops. That done, I reloaded the game and finally achieved a pure world. And good riddance. I know that I could have saved all this headache by loading into a small world, getting the Dryad, and quickly purifying everything, but like I stated at the start of this video, I was dedicated to get everything done with a single character on a single world no matter how much it hurts. After that, I cosplayed a summoner just long enough to get You and What Army. Then I had to sit around and turn in a bunch of fish to the angler for the last 2 achievements. The Fast and Fishiest achievement for 50 quests didn't take me too long as I'd done some up until now, but the subsequent 200th quest required a lot of prep work. First, I had to recreate evil biomes so I could obtain their fish, which I won't even lie. After figuring out the sizing and spacing, I just copy-pasted these floating pond sections using T-edit, one stretch sitting up above the eastern portion of the map, the other in an otherwise useless stretch near my underworld pylon house. Additionally, when completing quests that ask for a new fish, I placed a chest nearby and immediately deposited the quest fish, allowing me to return to the ocean base with a number of duplicates for easy subsequent requests. I also sped up time as much as possible by running my game as a solo multiplayer world, which let the game run in the background, though I'm not sure if it tracked my playtime properly. I slept in bed as much as possible, which makes time move 5 times faster, and I used the enchanted sundial as much as possible to either just skip time or skip events like solar eclipse and blood moon. But even still, there were some mistakes made. Sometimes I forgot the game was going, and a stray zombie would murderize the angler, which would, it was fun to see, but it slowed things down. And after a few days of on and off sessions, I finally got it done. With Supreme Helper Minion, I had finally done it. I had mastered Terraria and obtained every single achievement. That said, it's time to wrap things up by getting kinda reflective. This was a fun challenge, but there was also a lot of frustration, which is mostly my fault. The game has received countless updates, multiple of which were expected to be the last, and I am happy that even still, the game's achievements cover the vast majority of content without ever feeling too obtuse. With this done, I do feel kind of done with baseline Terraria, so maybe I'm ready to tackle some of Terraria's incredible mods. So on the off chance that you watched this far, let me know what kind of challenge and with which mod you want me to do it, if at all. That said, outro time. Big thanks to my channel members for their support, and a world-sized thanks to Captain Crayfish for being a super fan. If you enjoyed this video, why not leave a like, maybe subscribe, and comment down below your favorite or least favorite part of this journey and all of the things I did and mistakes I made. That's it for this one. Go check out some of my other videos. Bye-bye.